Hey everybody, Cinephile Mike is here. I hope everybody enjoyed the Oscars this past weekend. There were some fun surprises, some interesting moments. I hope I helped some of you with your ballots with my prediction videos. I can't claim a straight run this year. I did miss a few. Like many, I was leaning towards Demi for Best Actress, Diane Warren for Best Song, but I did call a few of the big ones, picture, director, so hopefully you were able to get there. So I just wanted to take this opportunity to talk about some of my hits, my misses, and some of my honorable mentions, talking about this year's Oscars ceremony. As a whole, I wasn't as entertained this year as I was last year. So just a quick overall rating for me. The Oscars this year were just 3 out of 5, golden statues. Now, I know that some of the moments I'm about to talk about here have probably been shared 100 times over. There's nothing new I'm sure that I'm going to be sharing here that's earth shattering, but maybe something I loved you didn't, or vice versa. Right? We're going to get into it right now. I'm going to start with my top 5 shoot and miss moments that were just not great. And at number 5, let's talk about the inconsistent presentations, right? We were never sure what we were going to be getting. For example, like in the picture, sometimes we had like Downey introduced all 5 nominees. Sometimes we saw film clips. Sometimes we had 5 different presenters getting together to talk about each project. So the little bit of inconsistency was kind of not a great thing as far as the production of the telecast went. I mean, I did like the design, the costume design one, and I'll get to that in a little moment, but the inconsistency of the production, that's my number 5. At number 4, I have to talk a little bit about Conan as the host. Don't get me wrong, he wasn't bad. It wasn't like the Golden Globes debacle of a few years ago. But Conan, look, I appreciate Conan O'Brien and I enjoy his humor, but here I felt he was a little bit off. He didn't really have any memorable moments, save when he had other people supporting the moments and the jokes. And some of those actually made my top 5 moments. So I was a little underwhelmed and underimpressed with Conan hosting this year, which is unfortunate. I don't think he'll be invited back, but I mean, he gave his best. At number 3, let's talk a second about that James Bond tribute. I mean, I'm okay with Margaret Qualley. She has, the dancer background, and I thought the dancing was good, even if the whole biting the lip thing, which has kind of become her trademark, was a little awkward at the beginning of it. The performers that we had, a couple of those singers I'm not as familiar with, and I'm wondering why. Like, I can understand there are some of those Bond theme performers that are no longer with us, but there are plenty that are. Adele, Alicia Keys, Madonna. I wonder why none of them were brought in to perform their songs if we're going to do the tribute. And also, none of our Bonds appeared. And, some of them are still with us, so that one was a little off the cuff. At number 2, Clement Ducol and Camille's acceptance speech. Now, while I wasn't pulling for the song El Mal originally, I understood the win and I was okay with it because of what the song did. And I was even, and I was fine with the speech until we got to that weird, as you can see here, this musical performance that was so cringeworthy and almost seemed out of the actual film itself. So, the orchestra had to play them off, which was very much needed. So that was my swing and miss moment number 2. And finally, at number 1, the biggest miss for the ceremony this year, the speech that was too long and heard round the world, Adrian Brody for his second Best Actor win. I had no issue with the win, but I actually found his speech a little offensive. Coming in at 5 minutes and 40 seconds, which is now the longest acceptance speech in Oscar history, when he said, this isn't my first rodeo, stop the music, any kind of good feelings I had toward him kind of went away. I feel that this behavior undermined the film and the message he was trying to get across because we weren't really listening to what he was saying because of how he was behaving. It was literally him saying a lot and not saying anything at all. So, those were my biggest disappointing misses and moments in the ceremony last night. Now, before I get into the top 5, I have 3 honorable mentions that I want to talk about that didn't quite make that list, but, were worthy to be discussed. Number 3, I know that I talked about the presentations being a bit mixed. However, I did enjoy this costume one with Bowen Yang's comic timing and the presentation with him, Lithgow, Lily Rose Depp, Elle Fanning. I enjoyed that. And also Paul Taswell for his wickedly good victory in the category. So this was an honorable mention. Nice moment. At number two, let's just talk about Adam Sandler. Talk about fun placement. He really helped to expand not only on the Conan joke and bring the laughter and who didn't love what he was wearing, but it's great that he even brought back the Nikki Glazer joke from the Golden Globes. Shadow me! So I enjoyed seeing him there. So that was quite a fun moment. And my number one honorable mention is for the Queen herself. I would be remiss if I did not reference Queen Latifah. Her performance of Ease On Down the Road was an excellent part of the presentation. It was part of the Quincy Jones um, honor that was introduced by Whoopi and Oprah. Nice to see that Color Purple reunion. Queen Latifah's performance had such great energy, was more than a fitting tribute to the man, much more of a fitting tribute than the Bond tribute that we had. So this one was thoroughly enjoyable. All right. Here are the top five moments of the Oscars for me. Let's see if you share any of these top five with me. So at number five, Mikey Madison's win. I have been singing praise for Nora since I saw it. It was my number two film of the year, my number one pick for the best picture, my number one film of 2024. Challengers was snubbed this year. I'm not getting into that. So I was pulling for Nora everywhere I could. And look, I had even picked Demi Moore as the front runner. I wasn't quite sure Madison would pull it out, but she did. She carried this whole film. She kind of helped develop it with Sean Baker. It was a legendary performance, well deserved. Her speech was heartfelt. So that was my number five moment. Number four, Sean Baker making Oscar history. Honora was the little indie movie that could, and Baker made history, taking home four Oscars in the same year for one picture, taking Best Picture, Best Director, Best Original Screenplay, and Best Editing. So now he beat Bong Joon-ho's record by one. Even though Parasite took home also Picture, Director, and Original Screenplay and International Feature, Bong Joon-ho can't claim the International Feature victory. That one is technically to South Korea. And look, Baker, he kept his speeches short and sweet and always had something different to say when he got up there. And in comparison, I applaud the pacing. I actually went in and rewatched where Brody's speech was 5 minutes and 40 seconds. Baker had three solo speeches and a part of the Best Picture speech. And when you add up his four in total, he's about 4 minutes and 15 seconds. So 4 minutes and 15 seconds, four speeches, 5 minutes and 41. Brody, take a tip from the Oscar winning editor. All right. At number three, let's just talk about that opening with Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande. Their tribute to The Wizard of Oz and Wicked was nothing short of class and grace all the way. These two besties honored one another, gave one another a chance to shine, and when they were performing together, their voices blended in perfect harmony, showing they were truly perfect for their roles. They looked amazing. The dresses they wore for this number were incredible. The ruby slipper on Ariana's back. And this performance, and a rewatch at the Oscar showcase got me excited for part two and what's going to be coming. All right, my number two moment was the LAFD. Now, oftentimes in award shows this season, look, we've recognized what's going on in California, and it's tragic. And oftentimes first responders have been invited to these ceremonies during the pandemic. A lot of award shows invited them, and I'm you know thankful for everything they've done, even though I'm not on that coast. But here, not only were they just welcomed or invited as guests, they actually got to present some of the jokes, and some of their jokes were phenomenal, even though we know they're written. But it was nice. Conan was out there, he had them, they brought the moment. And, I understand there was a lot of discussion about whether or not we should have award shows this season because people are like, it costs a lot of money. They should put that money into the relief funds. But canceling the ceremonies, you're putting a lot of people out for work. So by having the ceremony happen, it probably made more money for the people that worked the event than a donation would have been made. So hats off for, to everyone who worked for this. And hopefully, again, still everyone is remaining safe. And finally, at my number one spot, and I apologize that this is a repeat, but it's not so much for the person or the speech, but it's what the speech talked about. I Sean Baker's Best Director speech was the one that hit for me because it wasn't necessarily about oh you know about his life, but he really talked about the thing that, look, we're losing, having the opportunity to go out to the theaters, see movies, have that experience, share a collective shared experience in a movie theater with other people. That's what I love to do. I love to go to the movies. I don't want to watch them at home. And some of my favorite theaters have closed since the pandemic. They're not open. He said over 1,000 indie theaters have gone. We need to get them back. We need to support the movie going experience. That's probably about as political as I'll get and harping on that. So his speech really touched me, and just reminds us to get out there and go to the movies. All right. So those were my top 5 moments, top 5 misses, and my honorable mentions. Do you share the same with me? Did you have different ones? Are there ones you think I should have highlighted? Feel free to let me know. As always, if you like what you heard here, please subscribe to the channel, spread the word. I'm not going anywhere just because award season is over. Later this week, I will be premiering with the season 2 premiere of Oscar Rewind. So those will be a bi-weekly series of videos where I look at the earlier work of all of this past year's nominees and winners. And first up, giving the moment, more than likely I'm going to be kicking off with a Sean Baker film. You can follow me, Cinephile Mike, on all social media platforms and on Letterboxd. And, lots of great information you can find on my website, cinephilemike.com. All right. Happy watching, everyone. And until next time, this is Cinephile Mike saying take a break and watch something new.